Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys had a great weekend. It's the start of another week, basically. Sunday's almost over with us. We got quite a few things to talk about. We have tariffs to talk about. What is Trump calling this Tuesday? He's calling it, where is it at? Liberation Day for tariffs on Tuesday. So we got that to look forward. Tomorrow's the last day of the month for March. We'll see how that ends up. But right now, the market's looking pretty bad for starting out tomorrow, at least pre-market. Cleanspark's down to below $7 now. It's down 8%, something like that. We'll take a look at maybe some of the other ones as well. But we got tariffs to talk about. Trump is pissed off at Putin for whatever reason. So that means more tariffs on countries that use Russia's oil. That's not great, but we do have some good news here. Possibly I'll get into that as well towards the end of it. And we'll take a look at what's going on with Bitcoin right now. We'll also take a look at what's going on with the miners for last week against Bitcoin and MicroStrategy as well. And then we'll get into your guys' Q&A as always, okay? Hopefully you guys can hear me pretty good. I moved the mic up a little bit up top here and hoping that that gives me a little bit more freeway to move my hands around. I like to talk with my hands for some reason. All right, but that way it doesn't restrict me, but you guys know the drill, right? We always got to go through this. Not financial advice for Tim and only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. Oh, we're also going to take a look at, really quick in a second here, the M2 global supply against the Bitcoin here, and we're going to backdate it or offset it by 108 days. I've been watching a couple people talk about it, that it actually aligns pretty well with Bitcoin. We'll take a look at it. It actually does. So we'll take a look at that in a second here. But right now, Bitcoin has been down on Saturday. It's down today again. It's down on the new day as well. So what's going on with Bitcoin? Well, a lot of fears. I think the tariffs are the main reason for everything going down. There's just, we're getting close. Tuesday is going to be Liberation Day. Liberation from what? From who? From, I have no idea. But Trump seems to believe it's going to be liberation from, I don't know, taxes, or I have no idea. But it's definitely having an effect on the markets here, not only on the S&P, the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, Bitcoin. The only thing that doesn't seem to be offended by this is gold. Gold's like, yeah, bring it on. All right, it seems to be going up anyways. But Bitcoin's down to right now at 81,856. We may come down to the weekly here, or at least come down here to like the 76,000 mark, 78,000 mark on the weekly. If we look at it, this is the 50-day simple moving average. We did come down to that before. We may test that again. We'll see if that happens. That'll be something to look out for. And that will put us back to where we were back here. So maybe a double bottom that we might have here in the next couple of days. Something to watch out, okay? Other than that, we talked about the miners already on Friday, how they performed. It was a bad day for them as it was, not only for them, but also for the markets. So we're not going to dive too deep into that anymore. We'll get into here the other chart that I have for you guys, which is the yellow line is the M2 global money supply, right? You can see how that's been increasing here. And this is offset by 180 days, roughly. So if you look at it historically here, as the money 2 supply has increased, so has Bitcoin price here. Right, for the most part, and you can see how it's been trading along here and then here as well, but it's offset by 180 days. So the way to think about this is right now where we are, it's going to take us about 180 days to catch up to where this line is. So at that point, we could be going back up to like 109,000, maybe even higher than that. We do overshoot at many points here on Bitcoin compared to the M2 supply. So this is kind of interesting chart. We'll have to watch and see how this plays out, but that's going to bode well for us if this thing does actually, if we bottom out here at 78,000, whatever it's going to be, and then slide, trade sideways a little bit through April, and then finally in May we start going back up, which based on this chart is kind of what it's showing us at least, right? So we'll see. So that's some possibly good news that we might be heading in the upward direction here by the end of May, or sometime in May at least, okay? I'm not saying it's going to happen 100%, but I think the probability of that happening is between 75% to like 85%. I would say that that is a chance of that happening if Bitcoin does follow the M2 money supply globally. Okay, so there's that news there. Excuse me. Next, let's take a look at what's going on here with a couple other things. Bitcoin right now for the month of March is down 2.73%. So we got one more day to go. We'll probably be down a little bit more on that as well, but it wasn't that bad of a decrease overall if we look at it. For the quarter, we're going to be down approximately 12.21%, maybe give or take a little bit here, depending where we end up tomorrow. But it's definitely, probably the worst quarter that we've had here since 2018, where we were down 49% at that point. We were down 10% in 2020. So this is going to be the worst quarter that we've had here as far as going down in price on Bitcoin. Bitcoin ETF inflows, we've had basically 10 straight days of positive inflows, and then we had Friday, an actual red day on it where we were down 93 million in ETF inflows for Bitcoin. Okay. All right, let's take a look at this first story that we do have here. So Bitcoin falls to 81,500 as U.S. stock futures sell off in advance of Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. Right, that's not good. We're going to see some more pain here in the next day or so. But Bitcoin looks set for a bearish open to the market the last trading day of March and possibly the weakest Q1 performance since 2018. Talked about that here in a second. Crypto and stock traders' anxiety over U.S. President Donald Trump's fresh wave of 25% tariffs on cars imported to the U.S. The threat of tariffs on the pharmaceutical industry is clearly reflected in BTC's current downside. Trump's frequent references to April 2nd being Liberation Day, the day when an apparent number of 4 reciprocal tariffs will be assigned to various countries, also has shaken traders' confidence, and rightfully so. Excuse me, started to get a little runny nose here. But you can definitely feel I wouldn't say anxiety. Well, maybe it is anxiety as well. But just in the markets, the stock market, the NASDAQ, Dow Jones, S&P 500, all that stuff, everybody's not happy with these tariffs. They're not that great for us. But we do have a couple of things here. Does Bitcoin's downside have a similar silver lining? And maybe people do think that it's still going to be going up in the right direction here in the long run. Excuse me, to sneeze. While many crypto analysts have publicly revised their bullish six-figure plus BTC price estimates and now forecast a revisit to Bitcoin swing lows in the mid-70s range, institutional investors continue to buy, and net inflows to the spot ETFs remain positive. Right, we talked about that here just a second ago. We've had 10 straight days of inflows, and then Friday we had an extra outflow. Now on March 30th, MicroStrategy Strategy CEO Michael Saylor took to X and posted his famous orange dots Bitcoin chart saying, needs more orange, right? So he's probably going to be buying tomorrow, I'm guessing, right? They got some more, what did they use? More convertible notes or ATMs and different shares and things like that. So I think he's going to be probably buying here if he hasn't been already buying over the weekend, but we might definitely see something buying tomorrow, right? Bitcoin price is pretty low, good time to buy. And then also data from Crypto Quant also shows Bitcoin inflows to accumulation addresses continuing to rise throughout the month. So people are still stacking Bitcoin. They're still putting as much as they can into it, but it's not being reflected in the price right now. It's just too much pessimism, too much uncertainty, too much doubt, too much fear in the market. And that's driving it all down. But people are preparing for an eventual upside, I believe. Okay, so this is all good news here. We can see that happening there. And then Trump here is pissed off at Putin and threatens new tariffs. Right? So that's not great. What is that going to mean? Well, it means he's going to put tariffs on basically countries that are buying oil from Russia, and he's saying he might do that. He's not saying he's going to do that, but there's definitely a possibility of that here. So President Trump said in an interview with NBC News he is pissed off with Russian President Vladimir Putin and threatened to put secondary tariffs on Russian oil if he deems it to be Russians' fault that a deal is not struck to the end of the war in Ukraine. Okay. So, I mean, Putin is definitely playing Trump right now a little bit as far as when it comes to cease fire and cease the war a little bit for 30 days. He's putting a lot of stipulations on it as just unwarranted stipulations. Well, he doesn't want to end the war, right? He's on a war footing economy right now, and ending it would not be great. He also thinks that he is on a good offensive right now, trying to gain more land from Ukraine. So he's going to do whatever he wants to do because he's the smartest man in the world, basically, right? Well, we're not going to get into that and my viewpoints on it. But nonetheless, this is not good for us as investors because more tariffs would be possibly placed on China, India, other countries that also buy oil from Russia. But how many actually send stuff our way, right? So those are the major factors there to watch out. We'll have to wait and see what he does with it in the coming days. But it's not good, right? One of those things that's also bringing things down. Next here is some possibly good news here. So we do have a little bit of good news, but it's kind of small here at least. The market is underestimating how quickly Bitcoin will hit new all-time highs, says an analyst. Bitcoin will break past its 109 all-time high sooner than expected, despite recent volatile U.S. macroeconomic conditions, according to a crypto analyst. The market, here's a quote, the market may be underestimating how quickly Bitcoin could surge, potentially hitting new all-time highs before Q2 is out. So Q2, right? So kind of by, maybe even by Q2 is out. So by the end of Q2, by June, something like that. And that would kind of go well with possibly going into May, right? Where we saw the M2 money supply. And if Bitcoin follows suit, we might be definitely in that range then. Real Vision's chief crypto analyst Jamie Coutts told Cointelegraph, he said this forecast stands regardless of whether or not there is more clarity on U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs and potential recession concerns. So that kind of bodes well there, right? So you got some definitely negative parts of things that are happening in the economy, and you also have some pretty good analyst reviews or analyst estimates as far as what's going to happen going forward, regardless of what's happening with the tariffs. So there is some stuff that people are still being positive, being bullish on Bitcoin. And I'm going to try to point those out to you guys when I do see those things here, right? So let's take a look at some quick miners here. We're going to take a look just really quick on the NASDAQ here. Pre-market right now, you can see that Cleanspark is down 8.35%. It's, let's see, where's pre-market? Is that pre-market? Oh, it's March 30th. Yeah, that's right now. So it's down 65 cents, 7.19 right now, at least on that one is showing on it. Let's take a look at another one. Which one can we look at here? Let's go back here. Let's take a look at Mara, Riot as well. Let's take a look at Mara really quick. Mara Holdings pre-market. That's showing down 8.58 also. Is that the most accurate data? Do you guys have better data on that? Or at least a better site that shows the actual numbers, what it's at? Because let's see, Mara finished up on Friday. Where did they finish up? 1247, and that's showing 1247. So that's not pre-market. Market is closed. Why would it say it's pre-market? Pre-market data is currently not available. Well, okay. Never mind then. Let's get into the thing we're going to talk about, which is the miners and Bitcoin. How did they do last week, and how have they done from the last 52 weeks? On the light red charts, that's the miners, how far they are up from the 52-week lows. And then the yellow chart is how far away they are from the 52-week highs. Okay, so here we can see that Core and Strategy are pretty neck and neck right now, with 186% up from their 52-week lows. BitDeer is at 74%, Bitcoin's at 71%, so that's pretty tied to that. HUD 8 is pretty close to that as well at 68%. So those guys are at least performing as well as Bitcoin. And then two are outperforming it right now recently. Right, Core obviously got a great deal with CoreWeave. That's been helping that stock pump nicely after basically getting out of bankruptcy and everything else. And then we got companies like IREN, which is only up 46%, Riot 16%, Marathon 3.7%, Bitfarms 2.8%, Cleanspark 2.4%, Cypher 1.8%, and Hive 1.4%, up from their 52-week lows. So they're pretty close to the 52-week lows right now as it is. Some of them have reached their new 52-week lows in the past week. So that's not looking good for us, right? It's been not a great, I would say, 12 months after the halving event, right? We're getting basically a year past the halving event, which is kind of mind-blowing that we were already a year past halving in April that we saw last year. That definitely didn't help out some of the miners here. Some of the miners that got into HPC AI have definitely done better, at least after the halving for a certain period of time, but a lot of these guys have also gotten shellacked in the last 3 months with a lot of DeepSeek FUD, AI FUD as well. They've been definitely beaten down and came down in price tremendously here in the last couple of weeks here. But we can see that a lot of the miners are way off from where they were just in the last 52 weeks from their highs. A lot of these guys are in the 70s, 60s, and 50s. Bitcoin's the only one that's 22% away from a 52-week high. So that one has done the best, it looks like, right now. All right, going down here to the actual 1-week chart, we can see that Marathon was actually up like 1%, 2% almost up on the week. Is the only one that was in the positive. Bitcoin's basically flat, and I tracked this Friday to Friday, right? So it's not the same like you would see on the charts where it's Sunday to Sunday. And then Cleanspark's only down 3%. Strategy's down 5% last week. Riot down 7%. BitDeer and HUD 8 down 9%. Hive down 10%. Core down 12%. IREN down 15%. Bitfarms down 17%. And Cypher down 21%. That one got kind of definitely beat up there a little bit. Looking at the 4 weeks chart, things change again here. Only one that's up right now is Strategy, being up 1%. Everybody else is pretty much lower than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's only down 3%. Worst performer is going to be Cypher, Bitfarms, and then we go into Hive. After that, probably Marathon. And the best performers have been kind of Core. Who else? Riot, to a certain extent, Hut 8 as well. And that's basically it. Everybody else is way, way below down Bitcoin. At the 8 weeks, things look even worse now. And you can see Cypher's down 61%. Bitcoin's only down 13%. Strategy's down 12%. So Strategy has even done better in those 8 weeks here. Everybody's kind of in the 40%, 50%, even the 30%. And Marathon's only down 26% there. And then looking at the 12 weeks chart, again, same thing. Bitcoin's down 11%. Strategy's down only 12%. Everybody is down 30%, 50% across the board, 47 even. High 40s, low 50s. Yeah, it has absolutely not been a great start to the year for us, right? Bitcoin's down basically 11%, and these guys are down 3, 4, 5x on top of Bitcoin here. So not what we expected, at least, when we started the year. We had very, very high hopes with Trump being in the office that it's going to mean good things for us going forward. Well, it was definitely the opposite. A lot of people might be having buyer's remorse when they voted for Trump in there. So we shall see how that works out. All right, here's all the data on it. We can definitely see, I've been seeing a heck of a lot more red here ever since basically, I would say right around here's when it started, the end of January, it looks like. That week there was red, and we had a partial green here, and then a lot of red that we're seeing in here. Similar to what we saw at the end of December as well. We had like 2-3 weeks of just nothing but red here. The miners and Bitcoin in general. Okay. So that is all I got for you guys. Try to keep it a little bit positive at least. I did send this out to the Patreon members already today. You guys do have that from the video that was out on Friday as well, which also included the miners break even estimated numbers, right? So you guys have that out today. And then we'll get everything else, whatever, updated tomorrow as well. So that's all I got. Let's get into Q&A. If you want to get access to my spreadsheets, all that stuff, link is down in the description for that. So definitely take advantage of that. There's definitely some spots that are like still in the $4 and $5 range, I think. If not, it's typically $8. But let's get into Q&A here. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out. All right, questions here. So we're going to do it as always. If you could preface the question with a question mark, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm going to scroll my way up a little bit, see if there's any questions that I missed earlier on, and we'll work our way down from there. So give me a quick couple seconds here while I scroll up to see what is going on here. Okay. BJ says, my confidence in miners is gone, and I say that as someone who is miraculously still in green on Riot. Well, congratulations on that one, at least for a few more hours anyway. I feel the same way. I'm still miraculously still green on Cleanspark here. So we'll see if I turn red this week with them. If I do, then it's basically I'm red on everything right now that I own. Miner Digihost says, I'll buy Cleanspark at 350. I would buy it at that point too. Chris says, Cleanspark is 35% short interest. That's crazy. That is crazy. That's definitely a lot here. Let me see if the latest short data has been updated yet for for middle of April. It has not, it looks like. I'm still showing the data for the end of February. Okay, so we won't go over that tomorrow. I was hoping we could go over that, but it is what it is. BG says, I don't know if there's a price I would buy any miner at this point. I'm just looking for a decent exit point. A lot of people are in your boat, or in your shoes. A lot of people are just looking for a good price to get out. It's tough. The miners are definitely not an easy asset to hold. Let me see. Liberation Day is when people who invest in miners will be liberated from their investments. Get liquidated? No, Miner Digihost says, yeah, Miner Day equals liquidation day. That's a good analogy there, I guess. Andre says Bitcoin miners suck. Yeah, they do right now. Nope, let me turn that off. Let me silence my phone a little bit so we don't get interrupted. Oh, come on. There we go. All right. Under says the next move for the Fed will be to hike rates. Inflation is rising steadily. They will never cut. Yeah, we saw that with the PCE data, right? So that's one of the concerns there as well. All right. Spin Second Serve says everyone's that missed out its money ahead over the last 18 months. Everyone was chirping about 6 months after having we would rock. Well, it's been a year. Yeah. Miner Digihost says HODL miners will be taking a big loss on their HODL for Q1 earnings. Yeah, they will. BLM says Trump lost the midterms. He is a lame duck now. Well, the midterms are still a little ways out, but yeah, I mean, we'll see, right? People don't start seeing prices on things coming down, right? That's one of the main reasons that they voted for him, was just the high prices on eggs, other things as well, right? The kitchen table talk, basically, what's going on, what are things costing, things like that. If those things don't come down, then yeah, he may have lost the midterms because of that. They're going to definitely rebel against it. And if things, especially if things go up, that's not going to be a good thing. The JN says, don't discount Trump's ability to con and gaslight the masses. All right, Chris has a question here. What do you see the bottom could be for Bitcoin in a bear market? And what could that result in for the miners in terms of price targets? Okay, I ran some numbers a while back. This was probably, I would say, a year ago, going back to where I thought Bitcoin would go this year, or where Bitcoin would go for the high, right? My original target for Bitcoin was about 180,000 this cycle. We got to 109,000, right? But we haven't really gotten past that yet. So if we get to 180,000, I think that'd be great, or at least we get close to it, right? Whether it's 160,000 or 200,000, whatever it is. That's kind of my target there. After that, if we have a similar cycle like we've had in the past, my thought was that we would actually go down to like 64,000 as the bottom after that. But again, the more time I'm spending here and everything else that I'm reading and everything else, I'm starting to think, and I've been thinking this for quite a while, I've been talking about this probably for the last 5 months or something, 5-6 months, that this cycle might actually be different. And the way it might be different is we may have an extended or prolonged cycle because of all the adoption happening here, right? So, but we'll see. And then as far as the price targets and the miners, well, I mean, the miners would go down their normal 80, 90%, 95% down from where they are. If we go back down to like 64,000, right? If we go up to 180,000, then down to 64,000, I mean, the miners are going down to much, much lower. Under says, the only way the Fed will cut is if the unemployment rate goes parabolic and the economy crashes. Once they cut, inflation will rise just like in COVID. That is one thing, yeah, right? The Doge is cutting a lot of employment from the U.S. government. People are taking also some early retirements there, but that is going to have an impact maybe down the road, I think. Especially the ones that are taking early retirements. I think they get, 8 months of paid until they go into retirement, something like that. So that might show up 8 months down the road if that's the case. Roger says, if we enter the bear market, it's best not to be holding miners at all at some point, as some may not even make it out of the other end. I think they'll make it out of the other end if we get into a bear market. We've been in a bear market before with the miners. They always have an ATM to use at their disposal. They can also sell the Bitcoin that they have as well, which they have done in the past. So they'll survive for the most part, at least the guys that I cover here. Some of the smaller guys may have a harder time, but these big guys, they should be fine. Why does Trump have to fight every country at once time with a trade war? Liberation Day. It's all about liberation. I don't know what the liberation for is, though, but yeah, I don't get it either. It's just art of the deal, maybe. I don't know. Well, somebody's selling. Yeah, there's always somebody selling there. Let's see, Roger. He's trying to refinance the debt at a lower rate, so forcing Powell to lower rates by tanking markets. That's the assumption. That could be part of it. I would agree there. Let's see. Fairfax62 says, yet Cleanspark will continue to mine at a huge profit. Yeah, but they're going to definitely take a hit on the Bitcoin hodl that they have there. Instead of having a nice little profit there, or at least breaking even on it, that's going to come down. It's going to weigh their numbers down. So we'll have to see what that number comes in without the FASB rules there. Fairfax says, Putin playing Trump like a fiddle. Yeah. Let's see. Why did Cypher get hammered more? That, I don't know. That is a good question, right? Cypher has been getting hammered, pummeled more than some of the other miners here recently. The only thing I can think of is not getting a HPCI deal, right? They've been talking about that. They've been also selling Bitcoin to fund their operations more recently, to buy more sites, build out the sites, things like that. And that's the only thing I can think of there. Let's see, asking for a friend has a question. If BTC has a late run, then how bad would it be to hold Cleanspark past December? Well, we would think, if we're thinking it's going to be a similar cycle like in the past, we would probably peak somewhere around November, December of this year in Bitcoin. right? So at that point, I don't think you want to keep it if we go back into another bear market. But, and that's a big but here, if we have an extended cycle, could we go longer and higher in Bitcoin still, but just smaller moves up, I guess you could say. So if we get to like, let's just say 150, 200,000 by the end of the year here, and then we go up in 2026 to only 250,000 or something like that, right? That's 25% increase overall from 200,000 at least. So how would that affect the miners, right? Especially if Bitcoin goes down to like 150 and then goes back up to 250,000, right? How's it going to affect it? So that's something we have to wait and find out, I guess. All right. Question if BTC has a, all right, talked about that one already. Cobra says, I really think 70 BTC is the reset with timing of the national debt. Maybe. I'm thinking somewhere in the 70s. I think as long as we stay above 70, we'll be okay in this. It's still going to be a continuation of the bull run that we've had. But 70, I'd be okay with 70, right? I wouldn't want it to go below 70, though. What drives the value of BTC up if not people buying in large amounts? It doesn't have to be a few people buying large amounts. It could also be a lot of people buying small amounts, but it's still buying. But then we also need certainty in markets. There's other things that play into it as well, right? Risk on assets, risk off assets, depending how they're doing. And you could also look at the Russell 2000, see how that's doing. That kind of goes in with it as well. Let's see, Benny Sebs, use Robinhood. Okay, so for the overnight hours. Robinhood on the phone or Robinhood on the desktop? Let's see. Yep, 1719. Yep, Mara. Okay, Mara right now is at 1186. All right, so it's definitely down here. Heinz's got a question here. It's crazy how things have turned for miners. 70K BTC will tank the miners most likely. What if the cycle is over and BTC 103 was the top for the cycle? Yeah, if it was over, then we were all wrong, right? Staying optimistic, staying positive on Bitcoin going back up, right? We were all wrong on that. It's going to be definitely a different cycle, because never has Bitcoin peaked in the same year, basically, after the halving, which is kind of what we saw with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin peaked. When did it peak here? Let me look at it here really quick. Where is it at? Let me turn this off. Oh, go back over here. Bitcoin, when did it peak? Okay, it peaked January, basically, right? So beginning of January it peaked. So roughly since April, so what is that? 8 months after the halving event. That's never really happened before. So that's completely different. But we also peaked before the halving event in Bitcoin as well, getting a new all-time high. So that's never happened before. So it could be a completely different cycle where our previous expectations of historical performance in Bitcoin, everything else, has been flawed, unfortunately, if that's the case. But we'll have to wait and see if that's the case until we get into like the second half of the year to see where Bitcoin actually does end up at by the end of 2025, right? If we end up much higher, then okay, then it's similar to prior cycles as well. But if it's not, and we're going down a bear market, but we'll have to wait and see. See, Miner Degen says, Mara, 2 billion announcement Friday. All these miners are trash. Talked about that on Friday. Let's see, strategies down pre-market. Roger's got a question here. If you go into negative, will you sell and then buy back later? I was thinking about doing that. I might be, I'll have to take a look. I was still up like 9,000 overall between what I have in Bitfarms, IREN, Cleanspark, and Mara, right? So I was still up about 9,000 overall. That might change tomorrow morning. I might be just flat or actually be under at that point. Ideally, if that was the case and if that happened, I would actually be buying more, dollar cost averaging into it. But seeing that I have to save cash for income taxes and income taxes and property taxes coming up here in the next basically month and a half, I can't buy. So one option would be to possibly sell and wait. But again, what if we bounce off of at 78,000 and we go up? I sell now and then I try to buy back later. I'm paying higher price on these things. So it's one of those things you have to weigh. Does it maybe make more sense to hold on to it? Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I'm already negative on IREN. Andrew says 2024 was a trash year as well. Not for all miners. Some miners did actually pretty good depending when you got into them, when you got out of them. All right. Would it be a catastrophe if Cleanspark only gets to 24 by the end of the year? Well, if it gets to 24, I think anybody that bought at 24 would actually break even on that, right? Everybody else that bought below that, I think they would still be happy if that's the case. So it wouldn't be the end of the world. It's definitely not where I thought it was going to go with Bitcoin and everything else. But I'd take it, right? I would take that. Yeah, Blake says the same thing. I would be happy with $24, to be honest. Minor DJ says, Cleanspark is headed to 6 this week and eventually 350 to retest its entire run. So if they retest it, do you think everybody else is going to retest it also at that point? That might be that'd be interesting. That'd be actually kind of painful. All right. In 2018, Trump talked tariffs from January to December. Stock price went down. The S&P went down 19%. Bitcoin started at 13.5 and ended in 38 territory. Oh, that is true. You're right about that. All right. What do you make of the possibility the market goes green April 2nd? Dangerous thing to pin hopes on, but I hope so. I don't know. I don't know what the possibility of that going. Depending what he says and who's getting tariffs. We'll see. All right. Andrea says, I'm not green on anything, but I have been here before. It's always darkest before dawn. I would agree. Do you think Mara's $2 billion ATM is a bad decision since the stock price is already low? Depending when they use it, right? The stock price is not that bad. They've used the ATM before when the stock price was even lower as well. If they use it to buy Bitcoin at this price, it might actually be pretty good because they bought Bitcoin at higher prices. So dollar cost averaging into that might actually be pretty good. And then if they also grow some Bitcoin mining there, whatever it might be, I think that might be actually pretty good. Let's see. Benny says people are acting like it's the only miners. Every single stock is getting hammered. Yeah. Yep, everybody's panicking. It's not just crypto guys and gals. Who is still selling for Christ's sake? I don't know. People are still saying no. Fairfax says, I wish I cashed out back in December. Probably quite a few people are thinking that. Let's see. Goldman Sachs is now at 35% chance of recession and predicting 3 rate cuts in the second half of the year. Oh, well, that's actually pretty good. If we get that, that'd be great. All right. He's said, at what point would you think this is a different cycle for miners, even if BTC follows previous patterns? Like I said, I think, right, if this is the top that we just saw in January with 109,000 and we were just going to keep going down throughout the end of the year and we're in bear market, then it's a different cycle altogether. The other way might be a different cycle also is if we get through the end of this year, Bitcoin gets to 150,000, 200,000, whatever it might be, and then it drops down 30% again, and then we go back up to 230, 240,000, whatever it might be after that. So that would be a different cycle as well. It would be more of a prolonged cycle than we've had. And the reason I say that, and I've said this before many, many times, is because of all the adoption that we're seeing here. I think that adoption growth and everything else could smooth that out where we don't have those huge 70% drawdowns in Bitcoin going forward because you just have the adoption there. People are still buying it. You got institutions, states, countries, everybody else and their grandmother buying Bitcoin eventually. So we'll have to wait and see. Okay, talked about that one. Question here. It seems like you don't have an issue with Bitfarms getting into HPC, but you don't like it that Riot is going down the same path, basically. I don't have a problem with it. I like the fact that, Bitfarms came out stating that they're going to be getting into HPCI last summer, right? Without having an activist investor time. For that whole time, Riot was also talking about, no, they're going to be purely Bitcoin mining and everything else. You get some activist investors in there, and then that story changes, right? Which I kind of agree. Okay, that's fine. You want to look at some other avenues for revenue, and I'm okay with like IREN going towards that. I'm okay with Cypher, Hive, Hut 8, right? All those guys that are trying to get into HPCI. So I don't have a big deal with it. I was hoping that the Riot would actually stay like a pure play Bitcoin miner, just to have a difference in the economics of the businesses, right? Because it seems like pretty much everybody's going now that way. The only one that's kind of staying as a pure play Bitcoin miner right now is Cleanspark. Even Mara has talked about going into HPCI, which is fine if you can get the deals there. But if you can't get the deals, you're kind of pausing your Bitcoin mining ambitions to do that in order for the hopes to have or to get an HPCI deal. I would have probably continued building out and worked on trying to see if we can get a deal there. And you can, instead of being maybe 600 megawatts being available, it could have been 550 or 500 megawatts available to HPC AI hyperscaler. But you're missing that opportunity there if Bitcoin goes up, right? If we're saying that this is not the end of the bull run, Bitcoin continues to go up, you're missing that kind of revenue possibly there. So, but I can see why they're doing. I'm not against it, but yeah, it is what it is. Okay. Kevin's back. Kevin, good to see you, buddy. Haven't seen you in a while. Guy's name was BLM. Okay, not sure what that is. Let's see. Why do tip ranks, Yahoo Finance, many other financial websites have miners as strong buys? It's such a con. Because based on the analysts have their price targets much higher than where they are right now, I think. All right. How much are eggs where you are? Eggs are, I think, when did I go? I went last week. I paid $5 something for a dozen of eggs. Oh, excuse me. Kevin says, I wouldn't worry. I've still been buying. Nice. Let's see. Hi there, guys. Says it's been 60 days and people are tweaking 7% deficit to GDP and $2 trillion deficit funded in 30 days. Treasuries is unsustainable. Give the man some time. I'm talking about Trump there. Yeah. I mean, I like what Doge is doing and everything else. But they got to be, a little bit more meticulous in what they cut, I think. Instead of going in with a hatchet, they got to go in with a scalpel. All right. Kindsy here. Question. So much for needing miners. Yeah. Let's see. Question with miners performs like this. Eventually, miners will go bankrupt. So at the end, who is keeping the BTC going? Miners will not go bankrupt. Like I said before, a lot of these guys have a nice hodl position. They can sell that. They can also use an ATM for the most part. Most of these guys have an ATM. They can use that to stay afloat. They're going to stay afloat just fine. All right. I'm not able to. J94, Bitcoin down to 73,000, you think? Is that going to be the bottom and then we go up? Let's see. Hive has 2,600 Bitcoin hodl, which comes around 208 million, whereas market cap is 230 million. Does this make any sense? No, it does not. Right? It doesn't make any sense. It absolutely does not. It's just the same thing for the other guys. If you take out, if you look at the enterprise value and then include the hodl that they have, they're under that value there. Hi, Seb. Can you show in the charts how miners and Bitcoin react to the last cycles with respect to M2 money supply? The global M2 money supply or just the United States M2 money supply? Let's see here. Let me pull that up. Where's it at? All right. Here's this one here. Let me do this. Okay. So here's the M2 money supply. This is the cycle that we're in right now. Here's the halving that we had. Let's see if this goes back far enough. And does it correlate properly? This is a 180 or 108 day offset. Let's see, where's the previous cycle? Where did it start? Right there. Okay, so it does seem to follow it. Yeah, follows it up, down, up. That follows it pretty good, except down here. What was down here? This was a COVID crash, right? 2020, March, somewhere around there. That was a COVID crash right there. Money supply kept going up, and then eventually Bitcoin did catch up to it as well as stuff went up. And then it continued to go up. The money to supply continued going up, but we had the China ban here, so it does follow it somewhat. Pretty well, actually. Yeah. Let's go back to questions. Sarmelin says, Sailor's going to go red. What an idiot. What's his average? Like $60-some thousand, I think? So I don't think he's going to go red until we get there. With miners behave like this, eventually they will go bankrupt. So at the end, who is keeping the BTC network going? Bubble will pop if this keep up. Can you make sense in this? Well, the miners have been through bear markets before, so I don't see that being the cause for them to go bankrupt. The only way they would go bankrupt is if Bitcoin goes down to zero. If Bitcoin goes down to zero, they're not making anything. The ones that have any kind of HPC-AI deals in place, okay, those guys might survive based on that alone. But everybody else, yeah, they're all out of business. Cypher, that's a good point here as well. Cypher hammered more because Microsoft said they were pulling back on HPC-AI. But then a lot of these guys have been hammered as well, right? All these guys that have HPC-AI plays in sight, at least, they all got hammered because of that. But Cypher actually got hammered more. Do you think this level of extreme panic is rational? I don't. But that's the market. Market can remain longer irrational than you can stay solvent, I think, isn't it? Something like that. Let's see. Buyer's remorse. If Trump didn't win, BTC would be lower than here. SCP 121 would still be in place. All SEC investigation would still be happening. The outlook is bright. There's some positive, yes. That could be very well true. We got to let the process maybe play out. You've got to stop thinking dilution is a good thing. It is in a way. I still think it's good in a way as long as you get something for it. You're not getting just diluted for the hell of it. Benny does say, I am surprised how well Bitcoin is holding up, to be honest. Yeah, it's actually not doing too bad. It's down 30% basically from the top, or at least 109 to where it got down to 78. It was down 30%. That's in line with what we've seen previously as well. Corrections for Bitcoin, and then we go back up. So we'll see. David says, I think it would be great if Cleanspark went to 10. I'd like it to go much higher than that, at least double that. All right. Dilution gives shorts more ammo. That does. I will agree with you there. Heinz says, the question, I truly believe short selling is so unethical. Should short sellers be doxxed? No, I don't think anybody should be doxxed. But they do have, you got to have the bulls and the bears, right? The bears are basically like some of the shorts there. They try to, you can't have, I think they play a role here. They important role too, because you can't have just everybody being bulls and the stocks going to way outrageous valuations here. So you need them to kind of pull things back down a little bit and go, hey, getting a little overexcited here, come back down. And I think that's good for the market because then you can, make money on the downside and make money on the upside as well. All right, let's see here. J94 says, I appreciate your work, Sebastian, but don't get too lost in miners play their trend and get out. Example, I made a mistake last bull run just following NFTs when I could have learned the whole picture. Yep, you're absolutely right. All right. CORZ says, the problem lies here. Your better potential to put your money in the quality stock beaten down as they always recover first unless out of the blue BTC pumps. Yeah. All right. Sarmelin says, a ton of you will sell at or loss or break even. Happens every time. Yeah, that's part of the market functionality there. Jan says, already happening. Retail getting shook. Yep. Okay. All right. Question here. Is there any rough relationship between how much of the new M2 goes into Bitcoin versus how much the price moves? Invest Interest had a pretty good video on that. I think it was yesterday or Friday. I can't remember. But he talked about it. He had some math that he ran on it. And his estimates were, what was it? That if 0.5% of the money supply goes into Bitcoin, we're looking at Bitcoin going to, what is it like? Back to 109,000, something like that. So that's kind of where he's looking at it at that point. I thought it was actually a pretty good video. But that's just what I saw on that. And he said that he's also sandbagging it. So it could actually go up higher. IREN will be only miner with better earnings in Q1 than in Q4. Do you agree? Let's take a look at what the revenue was here in Q4 potentially, depending where we are right now. All right, so here's IREN, the numbers that I have for them. Based on what we're looking at, yeah, they should pull in more revenue here. Even by, revenue is going to be up a little bit from February, but it's still going to be better than what it was in Q4, right there, 113 million. I have them at 140 million roughly right now. We'll have to wait and see where Bitcoin ends up tomorrow to get a more accurate number. And if they also installed anything for March or not. So Yeah, they should have a better EPS even from there. Yeah, I would agree. Does make sense there. Okay, let's see. Don has a question here. Would you consider it good business practice by Bitfarms to announce a possible U.S. move and then not give any kind of timeline? Or did they give a specific timeline beyond it's complicated? And, they didn't give any specific timeline. They said it would take maybe like a year for them to switch to redo the books over into the accounting center for the United States. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I don't see how they could, well, maybe, but still a year is a long time. And the cost associated with that would be a couple $1 million, I'm guessing what they're saying. So would the benefit be there? I think the benefit would be there in the long run. In the short term, definitely a couple million is a couple million, right? So, yeah, I don't know. It would be nice to see them in the United States, though. All right. Cleanspark and Mara is a buy now. I would think so. They're beaten down tremendously from where they should be. But what I think doesn't always translate into what the market thinks. Let's see. The biggest drivers for Bitcoin are DXY, lower bond yields, and M2. Money supply expanding. M2 is the biggest factor, and M2 is expanding. I agree. We talked about that earlier in the video. Right? All right. Question for me. Take a long view. Should we hold, especially if BTC is over 160,000? Miners will then be able to sell their coins and still hold and not have to do any more dilution. What do you think? Well, there's some miners that do that, some miners that don't do that. So historically, Cleanspark has done that. We have other miners that just sell regardless, like IREN. Cypher also has been selling here, so I would expect them to do the same thing possibly. Mara, I think, would actually hold on to it all. Riot, Hut 8 would probably hold on to it as well. I don't think Hut 8 hasn't sold. Well, no, they sold some Bitcoin here recently this past year, but in the past they were hodling everything. So they might be selling as well. Who else? Hive might sell. They've sold in the past. Bitfarms might do it all as well. And I think that'd be actually kind of good, right? At that profitability. Sell some. You don't have to sell everything. Sell a small portion, 25%, 50%, whatever you hodl. Fund the growth that way as well. I'd be for that. Angie says, welcome to the psychological side of investing. This is what fear looks like. Buy the fear if you can. There's something to be said for that, right? Warren Buffett. Be greedy when others are fearful. Be fearful when others are greedy. All right. Seb, in 2018, when BTC did badly, it was almost after coming off a new high, almost 20,000 in December of 2017. Grok thinks tariffs were not the main reason for doing bad. In 2018, regulatory was an issue. Could be that. Could be, yeah. I remember 2017. 2018 was definitely not good for us. That's when we started up mining Bitcoin and everything else. And it was definitely the wrong time to do it, especially with Bitcoin coming down. Sadie, thank you so much for reminding everybody to hit the like button. All right. Sebastian, good time to buy IREN. You think it will go lower due to shorting on IREN, taking a beating this year? Yeah, I'm taking a beating on it as well. I would be buying, like I said, if I didn't have to pay property taxes and income taxes here in a couple of weeks here. So I would be buying. Otherwise, I got to scrounge up cash, actually. But I'd be buying right now. All right. Why did the miners buy Bitcoin when it dropped to 16,000, but bought it at over 100,000? Yeah, that's a very good question there. I think because they were beaten down so much, they didn't have the cash to do it, potentially. I mean, they could have used the ATMs and things like that, but yeah, I don't know. All right. Hi there, guys. Says next bear market will be much better for the miners because the banks will actually lend them credit and they won't need to go to PE for credit card interest rates with dilution for funding. They did that last time where they got loans and things like that, and they used collateral for their miners and Bitcoin, and then they held on their books. That didn't work out too well for them. So I don't think they're going to go that route unless they get really, really low interest rate loans. That's the only way they could that's the only way I could possibly see them doing it. Okay. All right. CORZ says Hive is a bargain of the bunch with these potential expansion. Yeah, getting 25 exahash later on this year is definitely really, really good growth for them. That's basically almost like a 4x growth, which is really good because I've been harping on them last year for lack of growth, right? They're trying to maintain that 1% of the network hash rate. So getting 25 would put them probably closer to like maybe 2% of the network hash rate, somewhere around there, 1.5 to 2%, which is good. So now we just need to see them execute on that. Can they do it? Can they do it properly? Can they do it costly as well? When we ran the numbers for Hive here in the last quarter and looking into this current quarter as far as operations are concerned, and extrapolating the data into that and seeing where their rough, what's it called, break even is for it. Where is it at? They came in a bit high, still break even. There it is. Okay. So we talked about this on, when did we talk about? Friday stream. We talked about this, right? This is just an estimation. This could be up 10%, down 10% from right now, but Hive came in at 85,000 right now. So they definitely need to get some more scale to them to take care of the overhead they have with G&A, anything else, sales, right, research, whatever it might have in there. That's got to come down here. So that should help them, but we need to see that come down definitely from where it's at right now. Go back here, a couple more questions that I saw left, and we'll call it a day. Gary's got a question here. Miners won't go bankrupt as long as they can find suckers to continue buying their shares. Shareholders hurting miners aren't. Yeah, well, it's just, yeah. That's all I can say. Me thinks we have a capitulation event and the upside, BTC 70,000, etc. SPY a lot lower. Okay. All right. The question is, the CoreWeave disappointment IPO going to hurt the miners? I don't think it's going to hurt the miners. I think it's going to hurt the miners with HPCI ambitions, maybe. But I mean, CoreWeave just signed a $4.5 billion deal with Galaxy Digital last week, right? That definitely helped Galaxy a little bit there. So much more HPCI demand is out there. That is yet to be seen. Bob says miners are not following your data. No, they're not. The market's not following my data. It's tough. All right, let's see. Hash price is down 50% since November, December, and BTC is down like 25. Someone keeps adding machines. The network hash rate is going off the charts. Let's take a look at the network hash rate really quick while we're thinking about that. I mean, we're going up, but we haven't gone up too highly here. This is 7-day average. Looks like we had a new all-time high here on it, 856 exahash. Let's take a look at the 1-day average. Did we peak again here recently? No, we haven't really peaked. Last time we peaked was back in January, where we got to 988 exahash on the peak. 30-day average looks like that's up to 820, 818, 819 exahash. So it's definitely going up. Yeah, with price coming down, you're going to have hash price come down. That's just a given. You can mark it like clockwork when that goes on. Where do I go? Back here. Okay. Why is Google showing much different BTC price than your screen is? What's Google showing? I'm using Bitcoin, which is from Coinbase, I think. Let's take a look at it. Let's go to Google. Google.com. BTC price. It's showing 83,000. Mine's showing 81,000. Not sure which one they're using. Here, take a look. Oh, where'd it go? There it is. So yeah, that one's showing today. What's that showing today? Is that 3:05 a.m.? That looks like it's delayed. Unless, where the heck? That might be the, let's see, 5-day. 5-day is showing 81.95. Monday, March 31st, which would be the UTC time for it. But that is showing probably what it ended up on Friday, I'm guessing. March 28th. Yeah, there you go. So March 28th, considering to what I have on my chart, which is real-time data. Or as close to real-time data as you can get, I guess. All right. So Melon says, mining companies grew for free off investor money. They won. We lost. CEOs like Ben Gagnon could care less about investors. I think they do care, and to a certain extent, on the investors, right? I mean, their judiciary duty is to do right by investors, right? But how many do that? Who knows? Let's see here. From 310.25 forward, BTC is making a series of higher lows. You see that? I see that too. You can definitely see that on the chart. Let's go back here to it. Screen. So from 3, what do you say, right around there? It's just making, yeah, from here, as long as we stay above that, we'll be okay. So I do see that as well. And then I think we got one final question here. Okay, one. Can Bitfarms offer controlled offerings as a penny stock? I talked to someone who said they can't do it because they're a penny stock and they would need a market cap of 1.5 billion to do so. That I don't know. I've never heard that before, but that might be the case. So it'll be interesting. Fiduciary, dude. Thank you. Yep, that's what I was trying to say. And then, yep, oops, 3 a.m. They're not real time. Yeah, it was back from March 28th. Okay, so that is it. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow's Monday, last day of the March. Anything is up for grabs at that point. We'll see where miners go. We'll see Bitcoin goes. We'll see where the stock markets go. Obviously, a lot of people are fearful of what's happening here with the tariffs. And then we got, what do you call that? Whatever that day Trump called for Tuesday. Not Insurrection Day, the other one. But we'll see what happens on Tuesday. It's going to be a new month. We'll get probably Bitfarms to report on that day first. They always do. Yeah, and that's it. I wish you guys a great week. I hope things improve for us much, much better going forward than what we have seen here, at least in the last 3 months. And then maybe this next quarter is going to be better than what we've had here so far. All right, Liberation Day. Jordan, thank you so much. Yeah, Liberation Day. We'll see what Liberation Day looks like for us. We'll be liberated from our money, I guess. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. Have a wonderful week. Thank you, as always, for coming in. Love you all. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.